So we just crossed the Yukon River a couple miles back. There was a bridge, a wooden bridge over the river that's put up and available year-round. And then there's the Yukon River Campground, which is basically a pitch stop for the truckers to get some food. And it's the site of where it's basically a restaurant that's being closed down in winter. And in 2005 there was a bear that hibernated in the restaurant and created damage worth like $50,000. And now I'm driving north towards the Arctic Circle, which is not for another about 100 kilometers. And the road conditions are much better here than the beginning of the road. There's a bit of ribbed earth on the surface. As you can see, none of it is paved. It doesn't make any sense to pave roads this far up north because the soil is frozen. It's called permafrost. So if you dig for about a meter down, it's frozen, and in summer it partly melts. So if you were to pave it, then when it melts in summer, it creates sinkholes, and then it just gets destroyed. So it really does not make sense to pave roads on permafrost. The forest looks a lot thinner out here. These are white and black spruce, but as you can see, first of all, this part of the forest was burned a while back. But as you can see, it's so cold and the conditions are so harsh and the soil is so poor that the trees don't grow very tall, and then when they do grow, they're very narrow. And sometimes you may see some of the trees, or some of the pine trees, or the spruce trees are leaning to one side, and whenever that happens, it's called a drunken forest. And the reason for that is that because the trees grow on permafrost, the roots cannot go down very deep because it's all frozen solid. So the roots go sideways. And Alaska has been warming for a number of years now, and when it warms up and the topsoil melts and gets all mushy, then sometimes the tree just leans over to the side under its own weight, and then in winter it freezes again, and then maybe it catches new roots and it continues growing, but it's never able to right itself, so it continues growing at that angle. And yeah, so I made good time. It took about 4 hours to get here from Fairbanks, and it's gonna be another. I'm driving 45 miles an hour right now. The limit is 50, but there's no services for another 120 miles. So the next gas station, and basically the next man-made things, are in Coldfoot. But what I was saying, the speed limit is 50 miles an hour, but it makes no sense because today is a very good day. It's very dry, and there's no rain, there's no mud on the road. But normally it would make almost no sense to drive more than 50 miles an hour on these roads. And actually, when it's just dirt, you can drive a bit faster, but if there's gravel, then if you try to drive faster, you're gonna start skidding, so there's no point. So on the route to Coldfoot, I'm gonna stop at a place called Finger Mountain, where there is an interesting geological formation, and I would like to hike that trail. And then the next stop is going to be Coldfoot, and that's where I'm going to spend the night. And with a bit of luck, I'm going to see some aurora, so the northern lights. I saw them last night in Chena Hot Springs. I was bathing in this thermal hot spring around midnight, and it was almost 0 degrees outside. And up above, I could see the beautiful display of northern lights. It was amazing. But it was a bit cloudy, so you could only see so much. So hopefully, because here we're further up in the interior of the mainland Alaska, we're further away from the ocean, so there's less humidity. So there probably won't be as many clouds, so it's going to show up a lot better. And if it does, then I'm gonna take pictures, of course. Okay, so hopefully see you either at Finger Mountain or Coldfoot next.